Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Friday, August 14th, 2015. If you want to follow us on Twitter, go to CATEX TV. Well, it looks once again as if the Hartford Insurance Company, that venerable institution up in Hartford, Connecticut, is in play, or at least some people think it is. Shares in the company closed up almost 3% on the New York Stock Exchange yesterday, amid unconfirmed rumors suggesting that the Hartford is a potential target for its larger rival, the Travelers. The Connecticut-based insurer's price closed at about $49 a share. The company's market cap now stands at $20.25 billion, $20.25 billion compared to $19.5 billion in July. So it's gone up $750 million since July. Sources say that the Hartford's $10 billion premium property and casualty business would be attractive to the Travelers, but the $9.5 billion variable annuity segment, which is in runoff, would be indigestible for any acquirer, with the possibility of Berkshire Hathaway. Such a precondition would likely be Berkshire Hathaway's willingness to take on the Hartford's variable annuity book at an attractive valuation. You can be sure that Mr. Buffett will extract as good a deal as possible, or no deal at all. There was news yesterday that the Chinese property conglomerate Oceanwide Holdings Limited has laid out plans for a $1.6 billion reinsurer to write Asian risks. The company is going to, in addition to write Chinese reinsurance business, provide property and life cover, as well as international retrocession business. Oceanwide has put up about $300 million in regulatory capital already. It's going to be listed on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange within the next 2 months. For listing purposes, the carrier has been named Asia Pacific Reinsurance Company. However, this name is expected to change. The group hinted that it plans to rival Asian reinsurance giant China Re, which is the only top 10 global reinsurer to be listed in China. The situation in Tianjin in China remains hot, to put it mildly. Rescuers pulled out a firefighter who was trapped for 32 hours after the huge blast in the world's 10th largest port city. Firefighters are still dealing with a fire smoldering amid potentially dangerous chemicals. The rapid succession of explosions on Wednesday, one equal to 21 tons of dynamite, killed at least 56 people. They were sparked by a fire at what authorities said were shipping containers containing hazardous material at a warehouse. And it happened, fortunately, at night. If it had happened at the daytime, the death toll would have been much higher because of the number of workers on the site. The firefighters had arrived at the scene for 40 minutes when the second explosion occurred. They had no chance, one official said. Officials have been hard-pressed to explain why authorities permitted hazardous goods warehouses so close to residential complexes and critical infrastructure. They've also been publicly reticent about suspicions that the firefighters themselves may have sparked the explosions by spraying water on volatile chemicals. Switzerland is the first out of the box in lifting sanctions against Iran after the historic accord with world powers to curb its nuclear program. Switzerland has removed a ban on precious metals transactions with Iranian state bodies and the requirement to report trade in Iranian petrochemical products. This means that it has eliminated the obligation to report the transport of Iranian crude oil and petroleum products, and rules on insurance and reinsurance policies linked to such transactions. Those measures had been suspended since the beginning of 2014. The American State Department said that U.S. sanctions remain in place. There's been a 118% uptick in piracy incidents in the crowded waters of the Malacca Straits, meaning that the seas just off Singapore are now the world's busiest piracy center, so to speak. The Singapore-flagged oil tanker Joaquin was hijacked on August 8th. The ship was the fourth vessel in 18 months stolen specifically to siphon fuel from its bunkers. About 3,000 tons of oil was siphoned off, and the ship was left drifting without any power until it was rescued by authorities. This means now that Malaysia and Singapore and those narrow straits that separate the two have exceeded the Gulf of Guinea off the coast of Africa for the top lead in international piracy. 2 weeks ago, there was a magnitude 5.3 and 5.7 earthquake off the east coast of Australia, the sun coast, so to speak, and there was a 4.0 aftershock that struck this morning. Been no reports of any damage or injuries, but it occurred about halfway between Harvey Bay and Noosa. There was also a 2.5 point earthquake on the Richter scale here in New Jersey, just south of Bernardsville, New Jersey. In Quito, Ecuador, the capital, there's a general strike that has brought the capital to a standstill. They're upset with President Rafael Correa, who is planning to run for a third term. This means that there would be a constitutional change that he will have unilaterally imposed itself. A legislator said what they are up to is reforming the Constitution to guarantee Correa's indefinite re-election. If he wants to do that, he has to call for a referendum. That would seem to be fair. We talked about acquisition of entertainment insurers, specifically XL's acquisition of an American-based entertainment insurer. The top 20 global concert tours ranks artists by average box office gross per city. So this is a little bit skewed. It's box office gross per the city. It's not the total tour take. The Rolling Stones are the leader with $7.8 million that they take in per city visit. U2 comes in second at $7.6 million. Fleetwood Mac is fifth at about $2.9 million. Neil Diamond, who I guess is still singing, comes in at $1.2 million, which isn't bad for him. Bette Midler's about $1.2 million. The Backstreet Boys, who are still playing, come in at $865,000. And the new kids on the block, who are pretty much the old kids on the block now, come in at about $668,000 per receipt of a tour in a city. So considering that each tour generally consists of about 20 dates, 20 cities, this can be pretty big business. That's all that we have for today. Have a good weekend. If anything breaks, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you Monday.